This magnificent and bewildering drawing comes from the collections of the National Maritime Museum in London. It is a plan of the British K-class of submarines launched during the First World War. The K-class represent a fascinating period in submarine design. They were designed as a fleet submarine, which is to say capable of operating with the Grand Fleet in a tactical role, a startlingly modern concept. The idea was sound, but limitations in technology meant that they represented an extraordinary departure from conventional submarines. Most notable was their size. At 330 feet long, they were by far the largest British submarines to be built during the First World War. This was the result of their steam turbine propulsion system. These powerful engines could develop 10,500 horsepower to drive the submarines at a speed of 24 knots, an achievement not equalled until the nuclear age. Their retractable funnels could be lowered and sealed before diving. They were essential to provide draft to the boiler spaces directly below when the submarines were steaming on the surface. Watertight hatches would close over the stowed funnels to prevent leaks, and the whole process could be completed in just 30 seconds. They were impressively well armed. They carried 10 18-inch torpedo tubes. 4 were mounted in the bow, another 4 abeam for broadside fire, and the final pair on a revolving mount in the superstructure, though these were removed in service because they were found to be too wet to be effectively operated. They also had 3 guns, 2 4-inch weapons for surface combat and 1 3-inch anti-aircraft gun. This made them the equivalent of submersible destroyers. Despite their great size, the K-class were very cramped. These large and complex vessels required crews of 59 men berthed forward in the torpedo flats and aft around the machinery spaces. Officers had somewhat better accommodation, though no improvement on the more conventional submarines. Despite the considerable effort invested in their design and development, the K-class failed to live up to their promise and acquired a terrible reputation. They were very difficult to handle and minor accidents were common. The loss of several of these craft in the disastrous Battle of May Island 1918 in the Firth of Forth cemented their bad name as killers. And with one exception, the surviving members of the class were sold for scrap in the mid-1920s. Despite their failures, however, the K-class submarines represented an incredible technological achievement for their day. The tactical and strategic idea they represented remained a dream until the late 20th century, when the advance of technology gave it expression in the form of the nuclear submarine.